up in this Vendée Mag, the race leaders reach Cape Horn with just 9.5 minutes separating the top two. Our expert Loïc Peyron, runner-up in the first Vendée Globe, analyses the battle between the two, and we spend a Christmas afternoon with the Lundven family. With the Vendée Globe leaders having moved into the Pacific, with Cape Horn in their sights, a fine match developed in the middle of the fleet, south of Australia.
It's funny, we're all rounding at the same time. There's Isabelle Joschke, Jean Le Cam, Alain Roura. It's like we had our own little sprint last night in this group of four. It was fun. When the tracker's updated, you think, oh no, he's too fast. I need to step on it. Tanguy. I think it'll be a matter of minutes between Tanguy and I.
The regatta was in full swing between the young bloods on daggerboard boats and seasoned sailors on old foilers. They were itching to race harder, but after a month at sea, the boats were frailer, the weather fronts more brutal, and the rough seas cruel.
It's extremely tense. We've got to hold out for another 3 hours of this.
À tenir là pourvu que ça tienne, putain, pourvu que ça tienne.
The sea state is extremely rough. You can see spray lashing in the wind. It's dicey. We're just keeping our heads down. This should be the last Indian Ocean front. I've got a real problem, guys. The boat's falling to pieces. There's a crack right along this bulkhead and the hull bottom. On both sides. I really need to fix that. 50 knots of wind. The sea's rough and it's rocky. I don't know how I'm going to steady it for repairs. My God! Damn, I should have put some glasses on. I brought some windsurf masts with me and I positioned them to secure the hull. And my broken battens are securing the bulkhead to stop it moving. I can now start laminating. We're off again, with the boat almost at 100%, and a skipper who's a little more nervous now. I might need to be a bit more cautious and go easier in the fronts. It's not my fault, though. It's Benjamin Ferrez. As soon as he pops up, my ego gets the better of me and I need to go faster than him. I can't back down.
Violette d'Orange's racing instinct brought her trouble too. 8 days and 21 hours after Charlie Dallan, the youngest skipper rounded Cape Lewin in 25th place. On her maiden voyage into the Southern Hemisphere, she'd managed to weather the storms and repair her coffee grinder last week. However, just as her confidence was soaring, Violette had a big scare.
I'm a touch upset because I've had a tough day. I hit a weather front this morning and I wanted to test the limits of my sails. I attacked with too much canvas and got caught out in a 50-knot squall. I thought I was going to dismast. It was horrible. As I slowed down over the last few days, my competitive spirit took over. Although I knew fine well that my main target was to finish, I've got to get that into my head.
Early December, we rounded the Cape of Good Hope. And I very nearly pulled out with my rudder problem. I said to myself, try your solution and see if it's possible to get to Australia. Well, we've done it. It's crazy. We're on the other side of the Earth. Thank you, Indian Ocean.
So there we have it. We are out of the Indian, apparently. We've crossed the longitude of Cape Lewin, and it feels freaking amazing. And I think as a New Zealander, I'm not allowed to glorify anything that's Australian. It is, at best, a road sign, but no. Cape Horn's the big daddy.
All sights on Cape Horn then. A 3-horse race developed at the front of the fleet, sailing on the back of a low pressure area bordering the ice exclusion zone. The leaders jibed and slalomed as the steady wind changed direction until they could head directly towards Cape Horn. Fortune smiled on them as the Pacific lived up to its name. Charlie Dallan lost time off New Zealand, but waited a while before officially acknowledging that he'd experienced head sole problems.
It took 36 hours of hard work to get it fixed, but it's done. The sail is back in use. Pleased to announce that Massif Santé Prévoyance is back to her full potential. Are you listening? Her full potential.
After this enforced break, Dallan accelerated very hard and regained top spot. Only Johan Richomme could keep up the pace, with Sébastien Simon inevitably dropping back.
It's not much fun fighting with a foil missing, I can tell you. The boat, it's behaving awfully. It's a pain. It's sickening to see the front two get away ahead of the ridge. We've passed Point Nemo and now we're heading to Cape Horn, which we'll reach in around 3 days. Cape Horn for Christmas. That'll be fun.
The chasing group was looking to take advantage of the intense southwesterly whipped up by the low pressure area, but it had also left the sea heavier. The wind was strong but fickle, and polar temperatures complicated life aboard. There was no joy on the horizon. With no hope of catching the leaders in the Pacific, they faced a perilous passage at Cape Horn, with lows descending the coast of Chile. The sailors' morale ebbed and their boats tired. Thomas Rouillon moved clear into fourth.
A tough, short, cross sea. Not easy to keep the boat progressing. I'm racking my brains too, worrying about what's coming up.
Jeremy Bayo and Nicholas Lundven were forced to ease off for several hours whilst they repaired broken mechanical parts as sails and mast were put through the ringer.
I decided to lower the mainsail. The mainsail lock is broken in two. I've got a spare, but it's all very well having a spare. You've still got to dismantle the track and remove the old one. You have to remove the battens, unscrew the track, put it back again, and fit the lock. In a rough sea state too. It's hell. On top of that, it's minus 12 Celsius, so your fingers are numb because, of course, you can't wear gloves with such small screws. I realised that I had a broken batten car. Of course, it had to be the one right at the top. And the wind was at 35 knots. So I had to lower the mainsail while straddling the boom in 30 to 35 knots and a 5-metre swell. I don't know how long it took. 2 to 3 hours? I'm shattered now. I've just eaten. I'll jibe soon and then I'm going to have a nap, because I've had it. You just burn so much energy. But it's fixed. I've changed it. The mainsail is up, but it doesn't have to take it out of you.
Sam Goodchild in 10th place then saw his headsail lock give up the ghost. He had no choice but to haul 180 square metres of sail out of the water by hand.
Trying to save it, but not so windy.
Meanwhile, Yannick Bestaven in 7th and 8th placed Boris Herman met up at the ice limit in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
It's amazing to meet up in the middle of the Pacific.
Justine Metro was battling to stay with the top 11. After being held up by the ridge of high pressure last week, Sam Davis and Clarisse Creme were forced to tack up wind towards New Zealand before finding more favourable wind angles to head east. Benjamin Dutroux and Romain Attanasio weren't far away.
I've been close hauled for several days, but it will soon be over. Another 48 hours? It should turn tomorrow. I'll soon be downwind, but it won't be much easier. Here's a clue to how cold it is in my cabin.
Dans ma cabane.
At the rear of the fleet, the gaps continue to grow. The back markers were worn out by a heavy Indian Ocean.
I can't sleep because I'm not going fast enough. I jibed last night and I'm now heading directly east. The weather front is catching me up from behind. And so are the skippers who are behind. They're catching up too. I know it's only natural, but I don't like it. But how lucky I am to be here all alone in the middle of the Pacific after setting sail alone from Les d'Olonne. It's an awesome experience. All those huge oceans to cross. And, oh, well, I never. Who have we here? Damn, I thought I was going to be left in peace. Who's sailing alongside this morning? That's Louis Duke.
In the meantime, a week after dismasting, the ingenious Pip Hare was on a slow boat to Melbourne. She gleefully showed how she improved the efficiency of her jury rig by adding a sail.
Yes! Yes, yes, yes! Look at that!
This gives me the Christmas feeling.
Merry Christmas!
Santa's here with me.
On vous embrasse.
Love and kisses to all the children of the world.
Tous les enfants du monde et de la terre.
Merry Christmas, Joyeux Noël.
Merry Christmas.
A word of warning, I'm a beginner. Thousands of toys.
N'oublie pas.
Don't forget my rain gear.
Tirez.
The back of the fleet reached Australia with Dennis van Weenberg last to Cape Leeuwin over 15 days in arrears. Manuel Cruzan and Fabrice Amadeo were just ahead of him. The daggerboard boat's routes diverged to avoid a windless zone. Conrad Coleman headed north towards home whilst the others moved south along the ice exclusion zone. The old foilers were in sight of each other.
We could see L'Ami Colleen.
Jean Le Cam proudly led this second fleet aboard his new daggerboard boat. Groups formed in the heart of the Pacific, with Roman Atanasio and Damien Seguin now together. Clarisse Creme and Sam Davis bunched up with Benjamin Dutroux. Ahead in the top 10, Yannick Bestaven slowed down due to the breakage of his headsail lock.
Damn, the lock must have broken. Christ. 2 hours of toil to get it out of the water alone. Christ almighty. So much effort. Ruined in 1 second. It sucks.
Paul Mayer swiftly moved up the place.
Look who's here. Maitre Koch.
The two leaders, flying at very high speed on a direct tack with minimal manoeuvres before Cape Horn, had engaged in a long final sprint towards Les d'Olonne. Johan Richomme had edged ahead, with Charlie Dalin slightly offset. The pair spent hours analysing charts and weather models, weighing up the routes open to them and planning their ascent of the Atlantic. After being pursued by a train of west to east weather systems, they now headed north again. After a hiatus, strategy and tactical choices would once again come into play to negotiate the high and low pressure areas that would cross their path. The race to victory was on. On 23rd of December, after 43 days at sea, the two men rounded Cape Horn with a mere 9 minutes and 30 seconds separating them. Both were more than 3 days ahead of Armel Leclerc's record set in 2016. A moment of triumph for the two skippers who'd long envisioned this scenario.
On a fait le Cap Horn, quoi.
We rounded Cape Horn in the lead. It's crazy. Quite the comeback. At Leeuwin, I was 24 hours behind, but now I'm a few minutes ahead. It's great. Great to see it in daylight. Woo! That's Cape Horn. I'm so happy.
35 hours later, in much rougher seas and a much stronger wind, Sébastien Simon rounded Cape Horn in third place. An ecstatic Johan Richomme extended his lead. To bypass a windless area that would slow them down significantly, the leading duo edged their way along the no-sail area east of the Falklands. Driven by the adrenaline of competing in top-level racing, the two figureheads of the 10th Vendée Globe, justified favourites, have dominated two-thirds of the race. Their final battle is now looming.
I think it would please him to finish second in this legendary race. So, Johan, I'd like to offer you second place in this Vendée Globe. It's never easy against Charlie. He'll have the edge, but I'm not backing down. That's for sure.
The day before the Vendée Globe start in Les Sables d'Olonne, Loïc Peyron was inducted into the Cap Horniers Association, chaired by Jean-Luc Van den Heide. Today he's our expert. Hi Loïc.
Hi.
You have 4 Cape Horns under your belt, 3 of them by day, 1 in the Vendée Globe in the 89-90 race. What do you remember about rounding the horn behind Titouan Lamazou and Jean-Luc Van den Heide? You were third at the time and finished second.
Just one of the memories. Yeah, it's an unforgettable experience for any sailor fortunate enough to round Cape Horn solo, especially in the Vendée Globe, or sailing the right way around, and to see it, as I did, on my first time. I even took some footage during that first Vendée Globe, and then I threw all my cassettes containing the memories I'd accumulated before Cape Horn to my brothers. They were waiting for me on 2 small cruise boats between Ushuaia and Antarctica.
The horn's often seen as liberating for sailors. Can you explain why?
Yes, it is geographically, physically and meteorologically symbolic, as we saw in Charlie's and Johan's footage when they rounded it recently. It has an instantly calming effect. Often, though not always, statistically we turn left and head back into what we think of as our own back garden. It may not be easier, but we know we're leaving the hell of this vast maritime desert behind. It's true that it's a relief when the long swell ends. It's farewell to the albatrosses, although not immediately, because they do follow us for a while at this latitude. Truly, it is symbolic.
The risk is letting go and switching off. Several sailors have said that.
Yes, you have to be careful because the weather can calm down quite quickly and then later pick up dangerously along the Argentinian coast. You need to be careful along the coast of Brazil. But nonetheless, it's still the end of living hell. So getting out is great. Reaching Cape Horn takes less time now. The leading skippers took 43 days, which is amazing. 30 years ago, things were quite different. We really took a break in the southern part, partly because Philippe Poupon's problems at the time, when the hell started in the Southern Ocean, dampened everyone's enthusiasm. It even did me a favour, I think, and possibly saved me to see Philou in such a state. We were in survival mode in the south, and the racing picked up again after rounding the Horn. In this Vendée Globe, it's constant.
Let's talk about the face-off between Charlie Dalin and Johan Richomme now that'll keep us in suspense for the next few days. What are your thoughts on this? It's a bit like Peyron and Desjoyaux 20 or 30 years ago, isn't it?
Ah, yeah, during my last Vendée Globe, I'd like to fight it out with Desjoyaux, because his performance in 2008 was incredible. Unfortunately, I dismasted, preventing me from confronting him and the others. But now we have some amazing skippers, and the boats are a bit different. Johan on Arcaire Pabrec had the advantage in the south. The conditions might have favoured Massif and Charlie in the transition zones, which are a little calmer, and in the windward phases. But it's going to be exciting. They're both highly skilled and have this remarkable ability to take the shortest route and to anticipate each other's moves. In that respect, it's an amazing race.
What's at stake in this head-to-head over the next 3 weeks? As lifelong friends, they know each other really well. How is it to race against people that you know well, go to the pub with, and have also been flatmates with?
Exactly. They know each other inside out. It doesn't get any better. In any competition or confrontation, you must know your opponent and respect them. That's part of it. They have this profound respect for each other, and they won't back down. They look remarkably fresh, at least in the footage, and the state of the boats seems... Well, you can always hide little problems, but I think they're sailing well. From what we know, Charlie had a few minor sail issues a few days ago, but it seems like they're resolved. It's a friendly rivalry, but it's still a sport and an incredible adventure. Ultimately, it's a yacht race, and nothing's certain till the finish line is crossed. Anything can happen.
Loic, do you remember Bruno Lundven?
I think I raced against Bruno in the Figaro, of course. My first Figaro, in 1980.
Yeah, and he also took part in the 73-74 Whitbread round the world with Grand Louis.
With Sylvie Vian on board.
Yeah, and of course, he's also the father of Nicholas Lundven, currently at sea. And to wrap up this Vendée mag, we spent an afternoon with the Lundven family. There's the father, of course, but also Laure, who is not only Nicholas's wife, but also Roman Athanasios' press attaché. A Christmas afternoon at the Lundven home.
De Noël, donc, chez les Lundven.
We're going to put pins in the globe to see where Dad is. Careful, little lower. Dad's at Point Nemo now. Point Nemo is here.
Alors, le point Nemo, c'est là, Thibaut.
We do have the globe, but we're not always up to date. Sometimes we put 3 pins in on the same day. That's due to the low. Dad dodged the low. It's hard to have routines with this kind of sport because Nicholas can't always stick to set times due to the weather or challenges he's facing. He calls when he feels okay to talk. When I see the kids need to talk, I sometimes call him too. And if he answers, all the better.
Hop. Regarde, qui c'est celui-là? Tu le connais? Il fait l'andouille.
Hey, look who's there.
Thibaut.
Know who that is? He's messing about. Do you want to talk to Dad for a minute? I'll get the girls.
Tu discutes avec papa 2 secondes? Je vais chercher les filles. Tu discutes 2 secondes?
Have you gone past Point Nemo? I've passed Point Nemo. Now the next step is rounding Cape Horn.
But we don't set up a routine. If something should happen in the Vendée Globe, it would really upset them. We know when Daddy leaves, but we don't know when he'll be back. Hi, Dad.
Everything okay, sweetie? You seem to like the piano, honey.
I'll put you here, or you won't see me. What's your speed? Because we've got bad background noise.
Between 20 and 25 knots.
What about the sea?
The sea's rough, so there's a lot of noise and banging on all sides, and the boat's underwater. It's not very nice.
Long live the Atlantic.
Yeah, so much for the long Pacific swell. I'm still looking for it.
Contrary to what a lot of people say, I'm not proud because he should definitely be proud of himself. But I'm definitely happy for him. It's the culmination of his career. Well, I hope it goes on for a little while, but if it ended on this note, it will be pretty good.
And Roman? How high is he? He's still in 15th place, but he is picking up a bit of...
I don't know what he's doing. 15th? But he's running at 16 knots.
I wear 2 hats as Nicholas's wife and Roman Athanasios' press attaché, handling media updates on Roman's race so that they can do some nice articles and reports on his Vendée Globe aboard Fortuné Best Western. I'm available 24/7 and my phone is always on. Depending on Romain's news, if something comes up, I'm ready to jump in, whether it's writing a press release, making calls, or whatever's needed. But no, I'm never offline. From the start to the finish, I'm always contactable.
J'ai pas fait de faute, hein?
Ah yes, I'm completely addicted to the tracking. The 6 daily positions, and I even note changes. I also keep track of the rankings, at least of the front runners, and those around Nicolas. When do you think you'll round Cape Horn?
The 27th or 28th, I think. Probably the 27th.
Step up the pace a little. Take care.
Merry Christmas to you all!